Hello, welcome to my cake kitchen. My name is Gladys, and over here I make simple, informative tutorials to help you navigate cake decorating easily. Now, if you see me for the first time, hello there, welcome. I hope you stick around. The channel is fun. Today we are undertaking a very simple bake. I'm going to make a banana cake. There's the banana bread loaf, and then there's the banana cake. This is a cake that has banana in it, so I am aiming for the texture of a soft, moist, and tender crumb of a cake with the absolute flavor of banana in it. So if you're new here, hello there. I hope you find some value in my videos. I make simple baking tutorials, generally on long form shorts, and also undertake full form live tutorials. So we identify a bake, get through the baking process, and see the outcome. By so doing, you are invited into my kitchen, and you get to see my exact processes I undertake to finish a bake. Most of the time, the results are great, but over here we make a point of also showing our mistakes. So if you've been here before, you'll find out I show it all. There is no filter, and I aim to bring you a very realistic representation of the cake decorating and cake making processes, just so you are inspired to undertake your own at home with all the confidence you need. And after 10 years of baking, I still make mistakes. They are not sometimes deliberate. If you know anything about baking, it's a science, it's precision cooking, and some days there are some unpredictable occurrences. But I'll stop waffling. We're going to be making this banana cake. It's going to be in a 14-inch base tin. The reason is I have an event with my church family, and I am attempting to make a simple tray bake that will be easy in a gathering where there is real food like your jollof rice. I'm getting it just in case you didn't know. Okay, so in like a cookout where there is jollof and there's grilled meat and there's all sorts of great stuff. The last thing people care for is cake. So I just wanted something easy to take with me. It will be diabolical as a cake maker to show up at an event that has a gathering and not take some cake with me. So I just thought, what would be easy, flavorful, and great to eat? A banana cake. And best of all, they get to have it fresh, because after baking, we're going to leave the cake to chill. We'll cut it up and box it up, and off we go. And that is all about my Saturday. So if it is probably midnight somewhere parts of the world, I was here yesterday on the night live where we were lining the cake tin, and a friend in New Zealand, a friend of the channel, I think that is Kayla and Liam, and she was in New Zealand, and it was already Saturday, which was kind of a little bit mind bending for me. But yes, it's Saturday in the UK. It's exactly 1:57 p.m. and I am stood here right in my UK-based kitchen. I have an hour, a window of 2 hours to get this cake completely done. So I'll stop waffling on, and I'm going to talk you through the ingredient selection, which I am hoping will give you some understanding of the intention behind the ingredients I picked for this cake and why that is. By so doing, you will also have some understanding of the baking process and the ingredients and how they mix, come together, and help with your baking process. So over here, I have a mixture of granulated sugar, Muscovado sugar, and soft light brown sugar. The intention of the selection of sugar, first of all, is to intensify flavor with the Muscovado sugar and also give me a very moist, tight crumb over there. The granulated sugar is to optimize for taste, because whilst the other sugars, which is the Muscovado and light brown sugar, will optimize for flavor, they don't come through with a super sweet flavor for you if you use that kind of sugar. But you get an intense caramel-like, dark, like brown sugar kind of taste to it. I would have swapped the Muscovado sugar for for like dark brown sugar, but I don't have any to stock. Not every recipe can call for an interchangeable type of sugar, so be mindful of that. But at the end of the live, I will leave more information in the description box about the sugar selection and why that is. But essentially, I mixed the sugar big for convenience, but more so to optimize for intense depth of flavor, whilst also enhancing the sweetness of the cake. So that is it. We have the general elements here. I am using a combination of margarine here and oil. Oil, if you've been on this channel, we've talked about oil and selection of ingredients all the time. My recipes are optimized for convenience and also adaptability. So you can swap the entire ingredient for one thing or another, and it will not affect your outcomes adversely. There will be a slight change. For instance, if you swap margarine completely for butter, you're going to have a tighter, denser crumb, but you're also going to have more flavor, because compared to margarine, compared to butter, has a less superior flavor, if you like. Butter is superior in its flavor, but in terms of texture, because butter settles at room temperature and it's still like solid fat, it doesn't allow for the crumb to be too tender, if that kind of makes sense. Whereas margarine kind of settles a little better than butter. That said, if we throw in some cooking oil, which is some vegetable oil, this is flavorless vegetable oil. We have pure sunflower oil here. If we throw in oil is runny, doesn't hold its own, so it will intensify the crumb integrity and help with tenderizing the cake, brings in some moisture for you. Those are the properties of oil here in the baking process. So instead of using just oil, which means that, for instance, if I use oil here completely, I am optimizing for a completely different technique. And if I did that, it means the rise of the base of the cake, as in the air pockets that will hold and assist the structure of the cake, is completely eliminated. So I'll have to derive that sort of rise for the texture and crumb by using a completely different method. So when you see oil in a recipe, as in oil only, you'll find that the rise or the structure is built by using eggs in the process, where the eggs and the sugar is whipped up to form a base, a ribbon base, and then the oil is added to form a sort of emulsion that will help with the structure of the cake. I am not doing that. My aim here is to use the creamy method, which means, simply, in very simplistic terms, if you don't understand the creamy method, is the method where the solid fat is mixed into the sugar. The sugar crystals then dig into the solid fat, wrapping themselves and creating air pockets. These air pockets, with the technique and also the other ingredients at the end of the technique session, goes into the oven and helps to hold or lift the structure of the cake. So I am using that method to optimize for the structure of the cake fundamentally, but I am also employing the good properties of oil here to enhance the texture and crumb of the cake. This is actually the best part of the baking. I do quite a few series here and we talk about cake. I was here last night. I wasn't baking. I was organizing ingredients, and we were also doing an unboxing of some Amazon things. There are quite a few things that happen on the channel. If you've been here a little long, you'd find that sometimes on the live, I will be on a live and the postman comes and knocks on my door and I have to go and respond to them. So I thought I would as well bring you along so that you see what the postman brought me from Amazon. So I did that. But whilst that is good for interaction, what actually brings me a lot of joy is when I am digging into the science of baking, the ingredients, and what that means. Because having an understanding of the ingredients and how they compose and affect each other during the cake making process will help you with great results, and also help you troubleshoot when you have any issues. So that aside, if you're already liking the video, let me not shout at you, but do consider subscribing. Hit the notification bell to be notified of videos such as this and more. There's a ton of information and tutorials on this channel. You will be spoiled for choice. In fact, if you're a beginner who has just started this journey into baking and you do not have money to aim for classes, or you do not have resources to support the baker, and some of the information on the platform lacks context, stay with us, because these live tutorials are a sort of optimized as some sort of educational baking resources for you. I undertake the entire process. We don't hide anything from you. So you can sit in with your pen and a paper, you can take notes, and make sure that you can try the recipes. I optimize my recipes for convenience, for adaptability, and they are super beginner friendly. You can swap the ingredients around no matter where you are in the world. So if you don't have access to margarine, you can go for complete butter. It should be fine. If I did away with this oil and I replace the quantity of oil here with the same amount of margarine, we should be able to get the same results. So I implore you to stay here with us and to continue to support the channel. And whilst we're at it, on the screen from which you're watching, if you're watching me on mobile, on the front of the screen, there's three dots at the top right corner. If you press on it, it should bring you some icons. There's a thumbs up button. Just hit on the thumbs up button for us. It informs YouTube that we're here and you're having a great experience. Hopefully, it will put the video in front of other beginners who might also find some value here. That aside, let's get back to baking and the baking ingredients. So we've talked about sugar, we've talked about oil, which is we talked about fat, which is the solid fat, and we've also talked about the oil. We come down to eggs in baking. Eggs in baking adds to color, it adds to bind, adds moisture, and also helps with the structure of the cake. In light of where you cannot use eggs, you can obviously swap that for other binding ingredients, but we're not creating a dietary specific cake here. So eggs are very present, and this is not a vegan option, just in case you are vegan. Now, a few tips to get the best out of your eggs, just in case you didn't manage to get your eggs to room temperature. If you are aware of baking or do understand anything about baking, having room temperature ingredients is really important. At room temperature, the emulsion of the butter making process is much easier and the ingredients tend to mix easy. An egg is very tricky. One of the tips I will tell you is that if you're separating eggs, make sure the eggs are cold, because then you are able to separate the yolk from the whites without the yolk breaking. But at room temperature, the yolk is very delicate and it can break and mix into your egg whites. But what happens if you do not if you haven't had time to leave your eggs at room temperature? Because stuff happens, life happens, and at some point you're going to wake up and feel like, oh gosh, I forgot to put my eggs at room temperature. What do you do with that? Well, one thing I do is that I get the eggs. As you can see, in England, we don't wash the eggs, so you don't have to refrigerate them. I refrigerate them for convenience and space sometimes. But some parts of America, because of the way the eggs are preserved during the production process, it is washed with kind of peels. Now, why am I talking randomly about eggs in America? But that's just by the way. In America, that's a sign to just leave the eggs alone, is it? Right, so I'll go back to talking eggs. Right, in some parts of the world, depending on how the egg is produced, sometimes the shell is washed, which means it's porous, and for that reason, preservation requires that you refrigerate the eggs for safety. In England, we don't do that. You can keep your eggs at room temperature in the carton or thing you bought it in on the countertop. And I do that all the time, except when I have already taken some out. I don't like leaving half eggs in the carton. So I tend to put them in the fridge. And that's a bit of information about me and my eggs that you never asked for. But the subject of the matter is, what happens if your eggs are cold on a winter's day, if you're not room temperature? What do you do? I would normally just put the same eggs in a bowl, just run warm water on it for about 10 minutes and then crack them. They work absolutely fine. Except, as life would have it, you know what happened to me today? Because I was trying to sort out my ingredients and organize before this baking session, I forgot to leave the eggs in warm water to come to room temperature. So over here is eggs that are not at room temperature. They're actually cold eggs. The quantities of ingredients I have over here, I will leave in the description box at the end of the session. So if you happen to be like me, who has broken like cold eggs and don't know what to do, first thing you can do is get some warm water in a bowl. Just make sure the bowl, there's just the water doesn't go too high enough here, because too high you will end up with water. And just sit your bowl of eggs in there. It warms. It won't cook it, because I have a ceramic bowl, as you can see. It's very thick. So sitting in there, it will warm the bowl up and kind of bring the eggs to room temperature, where they will mix easily into the rest of the ingredients. But let's not forget, eggs add moisture, binding, color. The yellow color of our cakes sometimes is because of eggs. That's the reason why if you eliminate the eggs and opt for egg white, you end up with what you call a white cake. That aside, we have some mixture of chocolate chips. This kind of baking is what I call pantry baking, where everything I have is already there. I didn't plan to kind of go out of my way to get different sorts of ingredients. It's very easy to derive the recipe, and it's very convenient as well. Next, over here, since it's a banana cake we are making, we have some crushed banana. Interestingly, for some banana recipes, you will find, well, when you kind of mix the banana and leave it, it oxidizes, and then you have the darkness on top. Over here, let's nail down some banana a little bit here. Banana, when you check on other recipes, it will say 3 or 4 banana. You want to be careful with that, because there are different sizes of banana. Obviously, you can get the small ones, and then it ranges to the large one. And interestingly, I wonder if you would know how much a banana this size weighs. Right? If you know, you want to leave your comments in the you want to leave, oh, there were people talking to me. Hello, Delaney, and the rest of you. Hello there. I am so sorry. I didn't realize you were all in the chat trying to talk to me. Right? I am so sorry. But anyway, all of you there in the chat, hello. Thank you for being here, and thank you for all of you being there and trying to get my attention. Yeah. Thank you. I am so sorry. I didn't realize that the chat was happening, and there was hello. There's Delaney, Delaney, our moderator. Delana, hello. It's been a while. Delaney spent a lot of time helping us on here, but she also has a life outside. So show some love to Delaney out there. There's Dolly, a friend to the channel. Dolly was here last night. I tell you what Dolly was doing. Well, before we go on about we'll talk about Dolly in a minute. But over here, let's see if you're in the chat. Tell us how much you think this banana weighs, right? If this, okay, so, okay, let me be fair. If you can tell exactly or within a specific range how much a banana this size weighs, you get to have a session of Pick My Brain with me. It's a 30-minute session where we can Zoom chat, where you can ask me anything baking related, and any sport, it's nothing else. If you have a specific business and you want me to optimize, it's not that kind of thing. It's just a pick my brain session. So for instance, if you're a baker and you have generalized questions about baking, you can pick my brain for half an hour. And also, if you don't like baking at all, but you just fancy having a chat with me about my baking journey or anything else that you want to talk to me about, it's 30 minutes. But it's dependent on how much this, if you can tell how much this weighs in grams, the size of this banana, and when it is peeled. So a full unpeeled banana the size like this, how much it will weigh, and if you peel it, and then we'll see. But that besides the banana. So leave your comments in the chat so that we can catch up on that. Remember, the price is a Pick My Brain session where you get to catch up with me for half an hour. That aside, Dolly was here with us last night. And guess what Dolly had been doing? Dolly had been cooking. If you didn't know, I'm Ghanaian, right? I've lived in the UK now for over a decade plus, which is exciting, but my heart and soul is super Ghanaian. So we're the people who are in competition, like the swim competition with the Nigerians about jollof rice. And I think I ended up making some plantain by cake plantain. It's a hyper realistic cake. If you want to find out about it, it's on my shorts channel, my shorts format, so you can see that. And then Dolly was out here. Dolly had cooked jollof rice. She had the nerve to also make some tilapia. If you know about tilapia, we Ghanaians over here, we season the tilapia, we grill it. It's amazing. So she made some tilapia. Then she made some cornmeal, which we call banku. It's fermented cornmeal. She had, I mean, as a Ghanaian person, having all this food means that Dolly knows her way around the kitchen. And she had the nerve not to share it, but to come and tell us in the chat what she's been cooking, right? But Dolly is also a baker. So she had some baked stuff that she is decorating today. So Dolly, how is that going for you? How is baking? If you're still here with us, do like the video. There's about 74 people in the chat. There is about 74 of you. So if each one of you decided to just like the video, that will actually tell YouTube something. So go ahead and do that for us. There is it Alexa Madia? Can I get, oh yeah, Alexa from the Philippines. Hello, thanks for being here. And good morning, Kay. Good morning, Chantilly P. Hi, lovely. How are you? Right, Chantilly, for those of you just joining in, we're trying to determine, don't cheat. Well, if you want to cheat, you'll have to go out and buy a banana this size and then tell us how much the banana weighs unpeeled and how much it weighs peeled, right? Take a guess. I'll give you a spectrum. If you fall within, I will give you a mark for that. And the price is that you get to have a pick my brain session. It's a 30-minute session where you can pick my brain about anything cake related. And if you're not a baker, but you fancy just having a 30-minute chat with me about all things baking and maybe about yourself, hey, you're welcome, because I know not everyone in my chat is a baker. So Delaney is back. There are also a few other nominated moderators in the chat that I appreciate. So if you're there, there is Alexa, Medea, is it Mudla? Okay. Alexa is, yeah, it's Alexa Madla from the Philippines. Hi, Alexa. Thanks for being here and thanks for joining the stream today. I hope you're having a good time in the Philippines. Actually, my thumbnail designer is from the Philippines. Lovely guy. And he helps me out a lot. So shout out to you all in the Philippines. And for my American audience, Kay, one of you being there, thank you for being here. Kay is out here showering me with love all the time. But let's get down to baking. So that's the issue of the banana. Banana obviously adds moisture, but in this case, banana optimizes for intense flavor, right? I wish the banana was a little more ripe, as in dark, because the sweetness of the banana adds to the flavor of the cake. Unfortunately, I only have the tender ripe, which is fine. Green banana is not great for use here, so avoid any unripe banana. But the ripe nature of the banana is on a spectrum. You can get it so mashed up. I have plantain here. Let me not confuse you. So that is the subject of banana here. For flavor, adds to moisture, and also helps to tenderize the cake. Jackie is back. Jackie. Good morning, Jack. How are you? I trust you're well today. So we are back baking a banana cake. I'm baking it. I think the goals in this specific video is that you get to see how we bake a large tray bake. It's the equivalence of, say, a sheet cake in a home oven. There are things you have to employ to get best results out of it, because you're baking large and wide, you're baking deep. So how do we ensure that we get the best results without having issues with this baking process? And that is what I am hoping you can take out of this. So we've talked about the sugar selection. We talked about fat, solid fat, and the oil. We've also talked about banana. We talked about the eggs, which I have now left in warm water over here. And I think that's just about it. Just a bit of information here. If you've been on this channel, I have a few mixes. One of them is this K mix. This is my XL, one of my workhorses. And then there is the Kenwood K mix. It has the glass bowl. It's a fairly medium size, a little bigger than this. It's I think it's the 5.2 or something, 4.6. I can't remember. But that is just a little bit small. Okay, right. Why am I picking? Right. This is the bowl of that mixer. Unfortunately, the mixer head has developed some problems, so it has now, it's gone for maintenance. As a result, I have to employ my Okma, right? If you're just a beginner, so just a bit of context for you. This is my Kenwood XL. It's a Chef XL. It's a 6.2 liter, but I've spoken all about it here, that for the 6.2 liter, you still don't get to use the entire volume because you still need to maintain some space for your attachments to be able to work through the batter for you. So even though it's 6.2 liter, the maximum amount I've used in this mixer is about 4.2 to 4.2-ish, if you like. But I also have an Okma. I haven't done a review on this one. I have done a review on this one, which I actually bought. I didn't need this mixer, but I bought it just so that I can create a comprehensive review for any beginner out there who doesn't have the investment of Kenwood and still wants to make use of it. It's a comprehensive review that I actually implore you to watch. Okma didn't pay me. I paid about, I think, £100 at the time. And I actually made the video a couple of months later, I think a year and a half later, I can't remember. But I actually got to using the mixer enough to be able to produce the video or the review on it, covering all aspects of a mixer if you're looking to buy a mixer. So if you are a beginner and you're looking for a beginner-friendly mixer, I would recommend an Okma. But of course, I'm a Kenwood lover. And for those in the US, perhaps the equivalent will be KitchenAid. Yes, Jackie's asking. Yes, Kenwood is the brand. It's Kenwood. It's Ken. I think Ken without the T. Kenwood. So it's Kenwood that I love. So if you want to pick one, Kenwood is my main mixer of choice, which is the big one and the glass bowl. The small one here, this black one here, it's not Kenwood, it's Okma. It's AUCMA, Okma. But I have a comprehensive video of using this mixer with all the attachments, and I actually give you what I like and what I don't like. But generally, it's a beginner-friendly entry-style mixer that I highly recommend. And by the way, Okma didn't pay me for this, by the way. So because we're having a 14-inch tin, I don't want to bake layers and layers. So what I've done is that I'm mixing the large amount of butter in the big mixer, and in the same time I'll be deriving the smaller amount of butter in the small thing. They are the same butter. You can't go wrong with banana cake. So I'm using both at the same time, just so that I can derive the quantity of butter for the 14-inch tin, and then we can move on. So I'll stop talking so much now. If you have questions, leave them in the chat, and I will answer them as quickly as I can. I'm going to wipe my worktop, and then we're going to just go straight in. But if you're just joining us here, hello and welcome to our stream over here. My name is Gladys. I am a baker. I love cake. Have I told you lately I love cake? If I haven't told you, well, you will know it now, okay? I love cake, and I have a general, kind, supportive people who actually indulge me here. A few of them are our moderator here, Delaney. Of course, all of you there. There is Jackie. There is Chantilly. She's Chantilly Peeler. I call her Kay. And there is Dolly. Some are bakers with great experience, years and years. Some still bake, some not so much. But you, if you're joining me, are you a baker? Where are you watching us from? And what's your Saturday like? It's Saturday here in England, and I did say that the cake I am making is for a church gathering. So the funny thing is that sometimes my pastor does watch me. So he might watch this video and then see me turn up at church with the cake and be like, ha, I saw you. That is just by the way. With that said, I am just, oh God. We are just going to plug this in. We're just going to plug this in. Okay, it's off, right? So that's done. And if your fat is not at room temperature, you can melt it. So I'm gonna just pop it in the microwave. Oh, let me make sure this is situated right for you so you have a view of the mixer. Yeah, there you have it. I have such a small workspace. With that said, let's start also with the oven. I've just turned the oven up to 108. Oh, Christ. Okay. You can't be distracted when you put butter in the margarine in the microwave, because it will melt and become runny for you. That said, I'm going to start with the sugar in here. Like I said, I will leave all the exact ingredients and measurements in the description box. And if you want to see the unboxing yesterday of some basic Amazon baking items that I picked up, you want to check on our immediate last video, which is in the description box there, which is said description box. It's linked up in the previous video. It was just before midnight last night when we did that video. So you might just want to check out that live too. But that said, we have this in here, right? So you'll find that because I'm going to be using 2 mixers, it's going to be a little noisy. So once the noise gets too much, you won't find me talking. But that's not because I'm ignoring you. That is because the mixer gets so loud and I have 2 of them on. But once we get through with the mixing, when necessary, I'll talk to you. And if I need to talk to you about something I'm doing, I'll turn the mixer down and speak to you. But that much of the creaming session will be a form of ASMR for you to enjoy. In that time, if you have questions, leave them in the chat. And perhaps you will see me in the chat trying to kind of talk to you as well over there. All right, so I'm just going to leave that here to cream. And by the way, we'll have some vanilla. Over here, we don't measure the vanilla. We just use the amount that just makes it all okay for us. Okay? But I will leave exact information about the ingredients in the description for you when the session is done. While you're at it, do consider liking the video just so that YouTube knows you were here with us and you had a great experience, right? We want a flavorful, nice, lovely cake. So vanilla in there, and this is If you're just joining the chat, I did say once the mixer goes on, I'm not going to be able to talk to you. So it's a little bit quiet here, but the mixers will work for you, okay? Right. Thank you for bearing with me. A bit of ASMR you didn't ask for, but just so you can see, this is the consistency of the butter. It is so flavorful, right? And because obviously we got the eggs right, the structure is not broken, the emulsion is mixed right, it is time for us to add our flour. So I'm just going to put that back to slow down. You have no idea the flavor of this batter here. It is amazing, right? So we're just right. The flour, you want to add it in slowly, and I'm going to start mixing, alternating that with the banana, right? Um, for the chocolate chips, I'm going to just add a bit of flour on there and get the flour in here, and the final bits of the right. There you go. I'm just going to get that out. Jackie's raising a conversation about Kenwood mixers in the US. We'll talk about that when this is done. But I can understand because their giant competitor is KitchenAid. So I can understand, but I don't know the exact details of why. But yes, I can understand why Kenwood is not in the US. You know what? I am just trying to get this mixer butter. Am I the only one who gets really annoyed at butter when it's left or like it's unnecessarily wasted? This is the part where I just literally want to put my hands in, but it means I'll have to wash my hands a few times, and I need, right, if you were here yesterday, I was kind of getting a bit worked up about, okay, if you were here yesterday, okay, let's move this around, right. Let's make sure we don't have a kitchen disaster here with the mixer falling over. If you were here yesterday, I was kind of talking about the spatula or spatulas in general and how I feel about them. And I actually said I might have to in the future create my own line of spatulas because I'm very particular. And I raised an issue about the spatula being, the handle being too small and not long enough. And I feel like I'm going to struggle mixing my batter in. And look, that is happening exactly as I predicted yesterday, right? So I'm almost having to hold the tip of the spatula. Great, it's okay. I wish the head was a bit broader and the handle was yeah, I have issues with this spatula, but it's one of my new ones I picked up on Amazon. For instance, this is longer, but it detaches, so it's no good for stirring into the batter because sometimes it does have a tendency of losing the head in the batter, and that's just not something I look, because this is longer, I am able to kind of steadily stir into the batter. That is if it doesn't come off, which is fine. So I'm having spatula crisis in my kitchen. And for those of you in the chat, hello there, she. Thank you for being here today. And yes, we have done, our batter is mixed. And just in case you want to see what that looks like, we have our batter here. Now, I've heard people say, I've tried to add chocolate chips to my cake and it doesn't mix. Yes, you will have to toss them in flour to coat them, right? So I've just tossed that in a bit of flour to coat them, and when you mix them, you don't over mix them. You just leave them a little bit round the surface so that they float around a little bit. So I haven't kind of vigorously mixed them into it. I've just stirred the top, but we'll come to that in a moment. So I'll leave that batter here on the side. wipe this so that we can get this batter done, because we're using both at the same time, and because I need the same quantity to go in the tin. So I'm going to unplug the big mixer out of the way. It goes all the way back. And we're going to wipe the top again. Where are we? We're going to wipe our worktop here. Right. And, oh gosh, what have I done? There is still flour on the worktop for me here. So I'm going to move that out of the way. There you go. And we're going to get this in view so that it's convenient to work with. The thing about the okma is how steady it is. It grips to the worktop like it's gripping for its life. Okay, right. Yep, there we are. So I'm going to start continuing where we left off. There's the eggs already in there. And what I'm trying to do is okay, right, we've got the eggs in there. Right. We have the banana. Going in there. Look what I've done. I have ended up turning that up unintentionally. Hopefully I haven't ruined my batter. But I'm just going to get that out here. If you don't fancy watching a cook using their hands to work, you want to look away now, because over here we employ the best practices, and of course where necessary our hands for work. Okay, right, so okay, so let's unplug this. This batter is so adaptable. You can swap some of the ingredients around, as in you can reduce the amount of, say, eggs and replace the amount of eggs with the same quantity of moisture enhancing ingredients like buttermilk and stuff. But today I decided not to do buttermilk, but buttermilk does add a certain level of flavor and also the crumb. So because they are two different butter and I don't want them to be separate, what I'm doing is that I'm mixing them on the base. So here we are, and I'm just Spreading that around. Because if I were to mix them together in one bowl, I might as well just do that. So what essentially I am doing here is I'm just adding the bits over here so that I don't get a distinctively different type of result. Just mixing that in here. The thing with banana cake is that it is very forgiving, and this recipe is super adaptable anyway, so you can get great results from this. And yes, Jackie in the chat is saying she's just looked in the Kenwood's Kenwood website, and they don't sell in the US. I am not surprised because most US bakers that I see do not use Kenwood. They use KitchenAid, and the KitchenAid has the same, like, obviously exact equivalent of the Kenwood. So I don't know why that is exactly, but I suspect competition is also a good reason. Right, so I'm going to go in here and add the chips. The chips are coated in flour, so to be able to get it mixing in, I'm just kind of swirling that into the batter so that they stay over. There you go. All right. There you go. All right. Now I have some excess butter here that I want to, because I hate having excess butter like that is unused. So let's make use of all our butter. Right, there you go. Yeah, there you are. And okay, right. Yeah, I feel that way about butter too. Sometimes when I'm making the raw butter, I'm like, ugh, I want to eat that. But no, you can't eat it. Because we are separated by screens. So actually, let me be a little extra. Good tip. If you derive your cake batter and it is nice to eat by itself raw, that's a good sign you have yourself a good recipe. Okay? I would eat this Now, you know what I didn't do that is annoying me? I could have left bits of the Muscovado sugar and then put it on top so that it will melt and caramelize on top of the cake. Oh, why did I not do that? Okay, right, we have, that's just to pop some air bubbles, okay? We have some brown sugar that I'm just going to spread on the top here, just so that it gives the cake like a very nice crispy caramel topping. There you have it. And because I am baking in a large tray like this, one thing you want to do is put flour nail. This goes in the center, and serves as a sort of heat source for the cake batter so that it can cook on the inside. Because for such a large pan, sometimes it can be difficult to get into the middle. So we don't want the middle of the cake unbaked. So I'm going to wash my hands and I'm going to show you my last trick to getting this baked right. Okay, so my last, just in case you want to see into the batter, this is what we have here. If I turn it, the batter might just move. So I am just moving this. Right, so the oven has been on at a 180 degrees C since we've been making the batter, right? I have an oven thermometer here, which I'm going to use. But one last thing, I'm going to stick that in here. Right, one last thing. Because the pan is so wide, and with a wide pan in a home oven, you're worried about heat circulation and how this cooks. The heat has to be radiant enough that the cooking will happen evenly if I can. Thankfully, this is a very solid, high quality pan. It's a Silverwood brand. It's a brand name in baking. So this is a great pan that will conduct heat very well and help assist with great results. But that is only, having a good pan and a great recipe is one aspect of the problem solved. The other thing is how the oven conducts and radiates heat. I have a convection fan oven, which means there's a fan at the back of the oven that radiates the heat around the cake. But each oven functions slightly differently. So in this case, to be able to ensure that the cake doesn't cook vigorously, plus, or I should add that size matters here. The oven measures about 15-inch width inside. So this pan literally fills into my oven with only an inch side by side, if you like. So it means the back of this touches straight into the back of the oven, which means it's in direct contact with the heat source. If I'm not careful, I'm going to get this part of the cake baking vigorously and quickly, whilst this part that is too far away from the oven still hasn't cooked. I'm going to derive burns. So to be able to kind of solve that problem, instead of cooking this at 180 degrees, that is normally recommended, I'm going to reduce my heat by 10 degrees and I'm going to cook it at 170. But it has been preheating for the last 20 minutes at 180. I'm going to put some water in a tray at the base of the oven. The water serves as a cooling mechanism that cools the oven as it's baking and cooking, so that I end up with a more even, tender bake instead of a dry, vigorous bake. And that is the last tip for getting the bake right. So I'm going to add that water now. I have an oven tray already sitting on the base of the oven. So you can tell that is the oven tray. And I have just added the water in there. And the cake batter is now going in the oven. And we are baking at 170 degrees C for an hour 30 minutes. So it's almost 3 o'clock. It's 8 minutes to 3. So round it to 3 o'clock. And we should be done at least by 4:30, 4:15, 20 past 4, 4:30, we're done. So that is our banana cake. The screw-like thing is what you call a flour nail. It's a flour nail, but there are baking pins, they are called, that you can buy. What it does is, when you stick it for a larger bake like this, the risk is that you may not be able to get heat from the inside. Because remember, cooking the cake cooks on the outside going in. So when you put a flour nail or a baking pin, it serves as an inner heat source that radiates heat from the inside, helping the cake to cook evenly. And that's the reason. So for those of you asking what that is, it's a baking pin, flour nail, whatever you call it. It's a source of heat that radiates to cook. the cake. So that's our banana cake gone in there. It's supposed to be cooking for an hour, 30 minutes if we can get it right. So normally for bakes like this, we stick around and we hang out for the cake to finish baking. So for me, when this cake finishes baking, I am literally just going to cut it up and then run off and take it off to church. So thank you for joining me. We are not leaving yet. Whilst we're at it, we've talked mixers, we've talked baking ingredients, we've talked all things, and I've given you my in-depth tips on how to derive a larger, wider tray bake from recipes. I ended up employing 2 of my mixers here for the job because one mixer couldn't derive the quantity of butter I wanted. So I decided to go for 2. Right, it's 9:54. It's 2:54 p.m. in the UK. So how many hours time difference is that? Just wiping this over. What's the time difference? I think it's about a 6-hour time difference, correct? There's about a 6-hour time difference between the UK and Barbados. Is that okay? Say Tats, you're doing home economics now. It's 8:55 in the US. It's Saturday morning, Jackie. So what's your Saturday like? I find the morning when I'm streaming between 12 and 2 p.m. that tends to be helpful for my US based audiences because you are either getting up in the morning and you are headed out for work, especially on the midday stream. And yeah, so it's 8 to 3, that would be 6 hours. So okay, so there's almost a 6-hour time difference there. Okay, can you hear me? Loopy music. Okay, it's a rainy day for Jackie. Can you hear me? Because someone in the chat is asking if you can hear what I'm saying. Loopy music. Can you not hear me then? Or you're just being obnoxious? It's a rainy day. Oh, well, it's a little chilly out here. The sun is out. We are hosting a church barbecue. There's a church barbecue event. The sun is out, but it's got like a cold, like, feeling to it. So even though it's sunny, thank you, Becky. I know, right? Half of the world is a day in front. You are telling me. It's weird. Yesterday, I was on a live in the evening. This was just about 10 p.m., a little after 10 p.m. UK time. And there was a friend in the chat who was helping us moderating the chat from New Zealand. And it was already Saturday in New Zealand. And she had 2 kids and they were playing and thugging away over there. And she was telling us all about it, which was a bit mind-bending because I'm like, how is like another part so different from us? So yes, it's half of the day is nearly gone here in the UK. But either way, I am so pleased to have you here with me. It's funny how technology has aided being able to interact with each other. So yeah, we were talking about mixers. Jackie, I believe for the mixer that we're talking about, some of the Kenwood brands have the exact equivalents in KitchenAid. So perhaps you might want to consider KitchenAid because even if you wanted to get a UK based Kenwood for it to be shipped to you, by the time it is shipped and it gets to you, the shipping cost and all of that will just not be worthwhile for you. So you might want to consider picking up a KitchenAid. But they are almost like the same mixers, I guess, because I see some KitchenAid mixers and the model and appearance is exactly like some of the Kenwood mixers that I have known. So I hope that helps. It's such a shame they don't carry it in the US, but I suspect that is also because of competition. If there's any other reason, then I will curiously go and look into it and find out. But yeah, it must be competition. Oh, okay. You have the 7.5. Is it? I know the US ones, they have the quarts and what, I have no idea what that means. Can you educate us a little bit on that? So they're like half quarts and something quarts. And I'm like, what is that? We just do liters. Like it's 6.2 liter and that's it. Or 4.9 liter. And that kind of makes sense. Right. So yeah. But yes, if it's your first time in the chat, normally when we undertake a bake like this, right, we wait to see the results of how the process and technique has assisted with the results. And if it's a good bake, we're like, yay! And if it doesn't turn out great, we're like, okay, what do we need to do better, right? But most of the time, it turns out okay because I derive my own recipes, so it kind of tends to work out. So it's going to be a long session. It's Saturday. I only have a church event to go. So we're hoping to see the results of our bake. I know, right? So Jackie, you're not great with comparisons and measurement. That's fine. So do you use cups? Since you're in the US, are you a cup person or you would go for a scale for the gram measurements, right? Because the cups is oh god, it's also confusing. Okay, I kind of find like the scale is more universal, if you like, and the reason is that if it calls for grams, you get the scale, it will do the job for you. Whereas if you're using cups, it means you're measuring by volume. And two things may not be of the same volume. The volume of, say, water is going to be different to oil, you know? So I don't like the cup measurements. But I have nothing against you, my American people over there. What are we up to now? Right. Somebody is asking, guys, what are we up to? Well, we are chit-chatting whilst waiting for our cake to finish. We have a whole hour and a half. So whilst we're at it, to make it worth your time, if you have baking related questions you want to ask, if you have something interesting you want to share with us in the chat, you're welcome, right? But otherwise, let's talk about, there was this thing. So Jackie says, okay, she Googles stuff. And then, right, she uses Google to find the equivalence of certain recipes. Well, what I do, I'll tell you what I do. If I say, I kind of make and adapt my own recipes, which is helpful for me. Right, bear with me. Which is helpful for me. But if I was looking for a new recipe, first of all, I look for a science-based creator who brings the science of baking, because then I find that they are then able to give me more information and context to the recipe. Okay, so Sugarology, she's a science-based baker on the platform. She's amazing. I will link her in the description, Sugarology. There is also some bakers on the platform who are very adept with their knowledge and tend to kind of give you more information than you need. I normally would seek those out. So Stephanie Javorsky of joyofbaking.com, she's on this platform. She is an OG kind of baker that just like frills and airs to it. She is giving you all the information about baking, talking you through the ingredients, and her recipes have both cups and grams. So those are the ones I would normally go for, like science-based bakers who derive their recipes in both cups and grams. So for instance, when we made our pineapple upside down cake right here on the channel, it was Stephanie's recipe I used, and I did tell you about it. That stops me from having to Google stuff, because if you Google, say, the equivalent of, say, one stick of butter, Google will answer you. But in context, you're like, does it work for this recipe? So I would just rather just go for somebody who has already derived their recipes in both grams and cups, because I find that if they are recipe developers themselves, as in if the creator is a recipe developer themselves, they are able to then try the recipe in both the cup quantities and the gram quantities before they put the information out. So it tends to be a little more reliable. But I'm just lazy. I just derive my own recipes in grams, as in the weights in grams, and I don't put the cup equivalents because I know nothing about the use of the cups, and I'm too lazy to kind of try the recipe in cups. So you will find that my recipes are all in grams. Imagine trying to derive the quantity of banana, pureed banana. But then again, talking about the banana, no one seems to have answered the question about the banana. Or is that, did I miss that? Did anyone answer the banana question? Let's see. Yes. Sugar cake, Lismeric. Yes. I have seen some of Lismeric's content for it. I haven't seen some in recent time because I believe, I may be wrong, great teacher, but she transitioned some of much of her in-depth content to her own platform, I believe. So you get snippets of what she has on her platform now. So yes, the question about the banana was, I had a banana that I was showing. If you go back to the chat, the bananas are finished now. I said, how much was that banana going to weigh, peeled and unpeeled? And I said, whoever was able to predict that correctly was going to earn a pick my brain session for half an hour with me. And I don't believe anyone has answered it. So Shishi said she wants to get back to cake decorating. Shishi, if you're a baker, why are you trying to get back to it? Were you baking and you stopped? How many years were you doing that for? And how can we help you? Right? If you let us know, maybe we'll be able to support you with answers or some sort of advice to help you. Right? So if you have been baking and you want to get back to baking, what is stopping you from baking, Shishi? And I know Jackie is a baker in the chat. Dolly is a baker. Queen cake and muffins. Gladwell. You know what? Let's find out. What I don't know, I don't know. I know muffins compared to cupcakes are different because muffins have a lot of moisture in them, so they are stodgier and denser and thicker. But queen's cake, let's see what a queen's cake is. That's a brilliant question. Thanks for asking. Queen's cake. What is a queen's cake? Okay, what is a queen's cake? So I bake, but I don't purport to know anything or all things, right? So the queen cake. Okay, so the queen's cake, the flour, sugar, and butter, usually in plus eggs and currants, right? Okay. So essentially, the queen's cake is the equivalent or similar to what you call a butter cake. The cake that is derived from measuring the same weights of the same ingredients. So you have, say, for example, you have 250 grams of butter, you have 250 grams of eggs. The main ingredients for forming the batter are all of equal weight, and then you throw in some currants, and there is also eggs, and that's what makes a queen cake. So it is similar to, say, a pound cake or something like that. And you can flavor it with almonds or rose water. So what is the difference between a queen's cake and a cupcake? The question is here. The cakes are similar than muffins or cupcakes. They are made in a burnt tin. So a queen's cake is sort of, based on the information, if I can just answer it simply, a queen's cake is similar to your butter or pound cake, right? So you have the same amount of ingredients that is derived, and it's normally a very dense, thick cake. Essentially, that's what a queen's cake. So the question, and a muffin is more a cup size, that's in a cupcake sized cake, that is larger, denser, has more moisture, and it's closer in texture to, say, a pound cake that is dense than a light fluffy cake. So Gladwell, I hope that is some use to you. Let's say unpeeled. You know what, Jackie? Since you have answered this, you're probably the only person who has answered this. So I'll give you that, because the weight can be on a spectrum. Because if I tell you to get the exact weight, it means I am asking you to weigh the exact banana. So it was 189 grams unpeeled. So I'll give it to you for 185. You're correct, but you're not correct for the 180 peeled, right? The 180 peeled is not correct, but the 185 is close to the right answer, because it was 189 grams unpeeled, and it's 119. So 115 to 125 would have been the correct answer. But I'll give it to you because you're the only person who answered the question. Plus, you had one aspect of the question right. So Jackie wins for the banana, the weight of the banana. And yes, Jackie, I believe I have your email. I'll drop you an email, and then we can catch up on Zoom for half an hour. You can get to pick my brain, ask me any baking related questions that you want, and perhaps that will be good chance to catch up on how we can set you up for your sharp edges. So if you're in the chat, give show some love to Jackie over here, because Jackie answered our answer for the banana, the weight of unpeeled banana. The size that I had is 189 grams unpeeled and 120 grams peeled. So the essence of the subject of the banana is only important because in some recipe, say for banana, they will say 3 bananas. And you're like, what does 3 bananas even mean? And if the recipe is not optimized right, you are likely to have more moisture added to your cake, which will not assist with the texture you are aiming for. So I just wanted us to measure the banana by size, but the exact quantities of banana I used in the recipe with all the other recipes, I'll leave information in the description box at the end of this session for you. So Jackie, you're the winner, and good job and congratulations on that. Gladwell, thank you for your question. Shishi has been baking for a while and she wants to get back to baking. I asked further questions and Shishi says she baked for almost 2 years, then she stopped, not sure why. She was busy with school, got busy with school decorating. Okay, she got busy with school and decorating was always the hardest. So you want to get back to it. Well, depending on what your goals were when you started, I'm not surprised that you kind of fell off, which is okay. You know, some things don't end up being like the journey of baking is not always linear. I believe, myself included, and some other people in the chat, I would say Jackie has baked for years and years and years, but at the moment she doesn't bake intensively. And there are other people in the chat like Dolly who has started and is growing. So the objectives kind of sometimes are affected by life's circumstances. So if you did stop because you had other priorities that took over your life, that is okay. You can always come back to baking. And if you're looking at um, reviving your baking activities, fantastic. Why not? Right? So you go back to it. Do you think you need help from us? If we as a community were to assist you, what would you require? Is it that you want some help with specific recipes or cake decorating? Since decorating was always the hardest part, what skills of the decorating process are you happy with, and which ones do you think you don't enjoy, and which ones do you think need improvement? Because you can also make a decision about things you don't enjoy and do away with them completely, right? And you can also look at things that you can avoid but can improve on. For instance, if the decorating process is a pathway from leveling your cakes to stacking the cakes to covering the cakes to decorating it with decorative elements. Now, if you hated that process completely, then perhaps decorative baking is not what you want to undertake, right? Decorative baking is when you bake the cake and you have to decorate the cakes. So decorative baking and cake decorating, it won't be a thing. So my encouragement will be to focus on deriving the best flavorful recipes, and then focus on things that are very straightforward, like your brownies to your the ones that are make brownies. What are the other ones? The counterpart to brownies, they're made from white chocolate. My brain is frozen, but you know what I mean. So focus on things that are flavorful, like tray bakes, bundt cakes, and all of that. Things that people will enjoy eating, and you don't have any add-ons. But if you enjoy cake decorating and yet you don't like it very much, and you feel like, oh, when I stack my cakes I struggle, then your focus will be to focus on the things that will improve the processes for you. So what help do you think you need? But I'll say, you know what, sometimes you don't have to like something so much to start. It's great if you have the joy and passion. Much of what I do here is powered by passion, not coffee. I don't even drink coffee, right? Because I just enjoy baking. And if much of the time, like I'm talking 14, 16-hour days, and I'm stood in this kitchen. So if I wasn't on a live with you, I would still be doing what I'm doing behind the scenes here, right? I kind of guess I speak from a place of privilege, that it's such a privilege to have that. But it hasn't always been like this, okay? It hasn't. There were days I'd wake up burnt out and I hated cakes, and I had a lot happening in my life, and I quit making cakes for a little while, and when I even came back to it, I was like silent quitting. Like, I have been through different phases of my business in the last 6 years. I've been baking for 10. So for 4 solid years, I was baking just for the fact that I loved baking, right? And it's in the last, what, 6 years that it has actively become like a business. But even so, when I transitioned from hobby baking to a business, it didn't what I have now wasn't what it was, right? It still was a slow burning process till where I am now. So be kind to yourself. And one thing I would say is that if you have and I'm sure if you're in the chat and you would like to add your thoughts to this conversation, please leave it in the chat. And for those of you who have had the experience of baking for years and years, maybe she can do with some support and advice from yourselves. So Jackie and Dolly and the rest of you in the chat, leave your thoughts there, right? One thing I realized that we don't talk about as businesses or growing businesses is that you as a person will have to grow a lot and change a lot and learn a lot to be able to undertake a business and hope to become successful at it. So if you having personal struggles in your life, right, or you have other priorities that shift your focus away from this thing that can be so all consuming, there can almost always be the conflict of, why am I not supposed to be doing this? Why am I not succeeding at this? Well, the simple reason is that your priorities are diverted to something that is also equally important. And the tension of accepting that reality can be difficult. You end up kind of feeling like, I left my dream behind. Well, sometimes even if you have a dream, you have to go do the thing that life requires of you before you come back to the dream. And I've had that journey so many times. I have said on this channel a lot of the time, whilst I love cakes and I make cakes, selling cakes is not my ministry. It's not for me. Like when I see cake makers, right, on social media or any platform, and on a weekend they have about 7 cakes, all these decorated cakes, 7 of those beautifully decorated. I'm like, oh honey, this looks beautiful, but that's not my ministry. If I made 7 to 8 cakes every weekend, no, I wouldn't enjoy the baking and decorating aspects. I wouldn't enjoy what I do as much. But there are people who do. And then those who do that might just not have the passion to be stood here talking into open air for hours and hours and hours. So I am just saying to you, if you fell off, don't hold yourself too tight on that. If you want to come back to baking, it's your kitchen, it's your ingredients. Just get back to it. Find the joy in what it was that you were doing, and then go back to it. And if you do go back to it, you don't have to make it a business. You can just enjoy baking because you enjoy baking, and then share the joy with the people around you, and that's fine. But if you want to grow it as a business, it is going to be a slow burning process. It is going to take a lot of time. You're going to fail a lot. I could give you the blueprint to running a business and you will still fail. You know why? Because my experience, my knowledge, my journey is completely different from you. Your perception of things that are important to you, your value system and culture as a business, it's going to be different from me. But of course, there are some universal principles that you have to apply to growing a successful business. But the universality of those principles are just one aspect. You still have to show up and then put your stamp on it. So that is just, I tend to kind of go off on this part of it because those are things that I never had. And yeah, Jackie's just added her thoughts to it. Shishi, I hope you appreciate that. Jackie is saying she found out that stepping away from baking gave her reinvigorated her passion for it. And yes, I do that a lot. Like some days I'm like, when I don't get, well, before I became very consistent on YouTube, obviously I relied on making and selling cakes as income. And I would panic when there were like slow seasons or slow moments where the orders weren't coming in. But then when the seasons got busy, I would equally panic because I was overwhelmed. And I realized that actually having weeks on end of not making cakes was exciting for me, because when the cake order finally comes through, I am excited to make a cake. Whereas if I was just churning cakes week in, week out, I wouldn't find it as exciting, would I? So, Shishi, that is just something Jackie has added to the chat, and I hope you find that a little useful. So, Jackie, thank you for sharing that with us, right? So, if you're in the chat and you're a baker, what has your baking experience been, right? If you're wondering what we're doing, like I said earlier on, our baking also requires that once we make the cake, we put the cake into cook for now, and then we are catching up. Right. So we're talking. Jackie is asking, are you now being compensated? Jackie, can I be real with you? Because over here we keep it real, right? Long form content pays more than, I only just got monetized, that's in fully monetized, because remember that, okay, so let's talk YouTube analytics and YouTube revenue a little bit here. I wanted to do a whole separate video on the subject, but since Jackie is asking, I'll give you that information. So, if you look at my numbers, I am a fairly small. I don't think I'm even a a nano creator. I think nano creators, is it less than 10? Okay, am I a micro or nano creator? I don't know what name they call it, but anything less than 10K is the bottom lowest in terms of the tiers of creators, right? So I tend to fall way below the I am on the base, that's in the bottom of the creator tier system. So for a very long time, I wasn't monetized on YouTube for a very long time because subscribers don't mean anything, okay? If you have so many subscribers and yet you create shorts videos, shorts are only 30 minutes to a minute. And the watch time and how much, like, it's very technical, but the general gist, I don't understand a lot of it myself, but the general gist of it is that you could have, say, let's say for conversation's sake, you have 100,000 subscribers, but you create shorts. Your revenue won't be that much, especially if you're not a viral creator. So if you're not, say, getting millions and millions of views on your shorts, you're not getting much and you can't sustain an income unless people have different, let's just say people have different business modules for their content. So sometimes people create shorts only as an avenue for sponsorship. So the sponsorship is set on what? Engagement. So on the back end, whilst they are not getting money from YouTube AdSense, because also remember the amount of money YouTube pays you is based on a sort of various tiered system. You have the YouTube ad partnership program, which is where YouTube puts ads on your videos and then you get compensated. And then on YouTube itself, there is membership where you can actually create exclusive content for your viewers to watch, and then they subscribe to a certain amount per month or whatever that looks like. But to answer your question generally, for a very long time, I wasn't monetized. I think I entered the partner program. The first tier of the partner program is 500 subscribers, I believe, and 3,000 watch hours. When you enter the first tier of 500 subscribers, 3,000 watch hours, the watch hours is mad, okay? It's so mad, it's almost like an impossible hill to climb. When you enter that, you don't get ad money. What you get is the opportunity to create memberships or something. It's very limiting. So it's like YouTube then opens this purse for you to find a way to get money from your audience. I never activated that sort of monetization because I didn't feel a need to. I just thought I could still create content because I love it. And there was no exclusive reason for me to invite my audience at a charged rate. So for a very long time, I think we have just surpassed 5.5K and we are headed towards a 6K mark, right? But for context, I think per 28-day period, I'm looking at 50,000 views, between 50 and 100,000, depending on the season. If YouTube was paying, say, 10 pence per view, multiply 10 pence by, the 10 pence is per 1,000, for instance. So multiply. So we're talking pennies, right? If you've been on this channel, you'll find that I'm very long-winded because I like to bring context so that you're not misquoted about things. So the point is, but I entered the YouTube partner program. Is it earlier in this year? I believe, is it in April? Don't quote me. I'll find it and I'll come back and I'll give you the real information. So I entered the first tier, but the first tier doesn't make you any money. You can choose to find the income from your audience or stuff like that, but it doesn't earn you anything. I actually entered the full partner program, which is the inclusive tier of the partner program, 1st of August, right? 1st of August. So we're in September. 1st August was when I made it into the partner program. And when you make it into the partner program, I believe, as of the time, I had over 600 content formats, as in all my content put together. There was 600 plus of content I'd been creating since 2021. So I've been on the platform for 3 years now, and there is 600 plus number of content on the channel. And up until the 1st of August, all of those content were completely free, and I never earned a penny, right? So when I got into the partner program on the 1st of August, that is where YouTube starts counting your starts deciding to compensate you. But the compensation itself is very technical, and YouTube money isn't what it used to be, but it doesn't necessarily mean you kind of thump your nose at it. So just to give you some real figures, from 1st of August, when I look at my income, it's about 27 pounds, $27. Mind you, I'm in the UK. So from 1st of August that I got monetized fully, the analytics and AdSense money is looking like $27. In pounds, you're looking at about 24 pounds. So if you look at my homepage, I have I've surpassed the 600. I think about 630 something. Somebody check for me. If you look at my homepage, it will tell you how many videos I've uploaded, and that includes both all formats. We're talking live, shorts, and long form, right? And there's over 630 something, right, videos. And as of this moment in time, actually, let's see. I wanted to find the actual figure for you, but as of this moment in time, it is something around $27.06, I believe, because I looked at it, and that 27 pounds dollars 6 cents is not paid out until I reach a $60 threshold. So Jackie, that is a lot of explanation to say what I do here. I do it because I want to give something back and I enjoy it. But to be able to make an income on YouTube, one has to derive a whole business module. And yes, I have my business module to hand. There's a reason why I am still here, but the intention is that I am not doing this because I'm getting paid for it. YouTube only paid it. As of the time, they haven't paid me yet until I reach a $60 threshold. But for what it is worth, it's just 27 pounds. Like, I've been stood here this morning, since let's say since 1:30. Is that correct? 1:30, 2 o'clock ish. Let's say 2 o'clock. That's an hour and a half, right? So far, because it's 3:30 and our cake should be done for 4:30. And in the UK, the basic minimum wage is about, is it £10.50, £11? So that should give you some sort of idea about YouTube money. But to succeed on YouTube, it's not just about the money. It's a marathon. It's like long-term investment where you have to do what you call compound interest rates, stuff like that. So you put in small things and then it grows with time. If you can keep that mindset, you as a person will grow, you will change, your life will change, but it's a long road from now. I'm not mad about putting 600 plus content into the universe for people to learn from. And I am not mad about the fact that I get to be supported by people who would otherwise never have known who I am, but are here rooting for me, supporting me, staying with me, watching me fail at something and yet still show me a lot of support. That in itself is worth more than money, because what that does for me as a person is it helps me build grit, tenacity, commitment, and all these values will add up in my own life, even if I wasn't doing YouTube. So the monetary aspects of YouTube, I guess this is more like a moral thing, but that's not to say I am on the moral high ground. It's just my kind of perception and how I view my world. I guess even if YouTube never paid me, I feel like I won doing this, and I will go and do something else that will still compensate me and make me money, and I'll still be here doing something that I love. Does that make sense? But make no mistake, I want to make money. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you. Make no mistake, but if you put your heart in it and you do it right, the money will come, right? I think I'm reminded of a Bible verse that says something. I don't want to butcher it, but the gift of a man will put him before kings. It is a verse I live by, that a gift of a person will put them before kings. And you may have seen recently that I was on a radio show. I don't know, Jackie, did you see? I was on a radio show recently, and that has come from just standing here talking to you guys, but it's still an empty kitchen. My son must think mama is crazy. Because some days he watches me with such awe, like, what's this crazy woman doing? Right? But I was on a radio show. I was interviewed about what I do, and part of being, I was scouted for it. It wasn't something I applied for. I was genuinely scouted for it. And the producer who actually scouted me emailed me and told me how amazing he thought my content was, and it's lovely to have me on the show. I made some cakes that I took with them. You know what? They must have wondered a little bit. They were nice people, but they must have wondered what kind of enthusiasm I walked into the studio with, because they might not have understood why I was that enthusiastic. And the reason why I was enthusiastic was that I am an immigrant girl who just had a dream to do something away from the norm of what immigrants are expected to do. If you are me and you have the background, I don't tend to center myself in the conversation a lot, except when my experience lends to the conversation. And that's by intention, because I don't want the conversation to be about me. I want it to be about what we do so that we can all earn something from it. But where my experience kind of comes into direct contact with the subject matter, I'm happy to share a little bit. I am an immigrant girl from a West African country, Ghana, right? And if you know anything about my background, at least I've shared snippets of it in a long form video. You want to check out this video? Is it a raw day in my life? I feel like a failure. I did kind of. It was a raw day where I was having struggles, and I decided to vlog that. And it's a raw moment you can see. And I talk about my background, where I come from, and some of the things that have influenced me. And if you see that video, it should give you some context that as an immigrant girl who had a mom who kind of gave up everything to support me educationally, right? I didn't have the choice to come here and pursue my passion. Like, what passion are you pursuing over there, girl? You better go and succeed at a STEM based subject and become a career person. Like, we're talking become somebody in corporate, right? And that's not my journey. And I didn't for half of the time. Once I made it to the UK, everything I knew kind of fell along the roadside. I worked as a cleaner in a care home, and from there I climbed the ranks to become a support worker, carer. And that journey in itself is not linear. And then eventually I got to a point in my own life with some really mad crisis happening. And I thought to myself, if I died today, what life have I lived? So I found baking along the career path of caring for people, which is what I did for a long time. I think over 12 years. Once upon a time, I worked in McDonald's. That's a whole mad story. And then I went to work as a supervisor, as in a cleaning supervisor in a warehouse. And like, I have had some pretty basic menial jobs, but I have always approached any opportunity that has been thrown at me with such gratitude, because the immigrant spirit is one of gratitude, you know. I know sometimes we become the butt of very extreme immigration policies, and we, especially in this climate, the American audience will understand. um like this conversation about Haiti's eating cats, and it's, I don't know anything about American politics, and the subject matter is not politics here, right? I'm just kind of bringing to fore some policies and mindsets of people who make policies, who tend to victimize an already brutalized and victimized section of society, right? But that's not to say all immigrants are should feel sorry for themselves. I certainly try not to, but there's a wider conversation that holds through to our experience, that we work harder than some people. We tend to forego a lot of like conveniences and rights. Whew, this conversation is getting a bit intense. Right, we give up a lot just so that we can survive, right? And yet, God, why has, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't have this conversation because it's making me want to cry. Right, we're not a crying channel, right? Right. I think it feels raw because it's an experience I've lived. But I say that to say, right, my son is here. He wants to talk to me. So I'm just going to step away. Maybe it will help me gather my thoughts. But yes, Jackie, true. What you just said there is true. Yeah. You want food? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Stay here with me. I'll sort something out for you. Oh, my son wants lunch. I'm trying to see. Do we have anything? Bree? I don't think I have anything, but I have some food. I have some. Oh, right. Okay. Right. Bree? Let's see what we have. Right. Okay. Bree, do you want a chocolate sandwich for now? Sir, do you want a chocolate sandwich? Is it yes? Okay. I'll make that for you. Okay. Okay. So, oh, thank you. I think Jackie, my son wants a chocolate sandwich, so I'm just gonna make that for him. Jackie's true. We don't want to make, because we try not to make this uh, politics and religion, and there are some subjects that can be very divisive, and I try not to. I try to just encourage a safe space here, so that we can all use this as a space where we can come and switch off and not worry about what is going on in our real world. So yes, I appreciate what you guys are saying there. And yes, Jackie, you're right. Most immigrants appreciate what the indigens take for granted, you know. So I say all that to say, the joy of being able to choose something for myself, which I know is not the norm for most people, right? Especially if you're an immigrant. If you're an immigrant, you are expected to succeed in a corporate career because it guarantees a stable and steady income, and it's safe. It is there's good reason for it, and it's not a bad thing. And if I had a corporate career, I would be a lawyer. Okay, that is what I really wanted to be. But my parents couldn't afford to pay me through law school, so I settled on the next best thing, which is to be a teacher. So I went to university to read Bachelor of Education, majoring in arts and religion, um, history and religion. And had I finished my program, it's a 4-year program, my goal was to go on to do a master's in philosophy, MPhil, in religion. And I would have been perhaps a religion lecturer or tutor, you know. And that was, I guess now looking back, I realized that that was simply because I wanted to utilize, here, it's okay. Yeah, there you go. I guess I wanted to just utilize what I was naturally good at. I loved reading. I just had a curious mind to understand things, and I thought I would make a fine lawyer. How naive that was, because the amount of studies, not that I'm scared of studying, but I realized how all consuming that would have been for me now. But at the time, it was such a career prospect to aim for, because it was exciting, and it's one that will bring you some sort of social recognition and privilege as well, because you hear when they say marry the doctor, because it's a doctor, isn't it? So yeah, that was exciting. And yeah, I just thought that was what I wanted to do. So giving up on being a lawyer, the next best thing was to be a teacher. In between the lawyer and a teacher, I wanted to be a journalist, but in my native Ghana, being a journalist at the time, I'm not speaking for the recent time, so don't come for me. I'm a bit old though. I'm in my late 30s. So in between the lawyer and the teacher was a journalist. You will know why, okay? But at the time, it didn't pay. And I felt a bit insulted. I'm like, why should I go to school and go and work in a job that will utilize my skill and not pay me and expect me to just be a face? So I was like, nah. But I did, I guess I've had an exciting journey in careers. Like, I have had the chance to try many things also, what I has excited me. And I think I've also had the blessing of people notice something about my life and my skill, and have always been willing to support that. So back in university, I kind of made a quick stop in a radio station, and it was a campus-based radio. And if I stayed on the program and completed my course, who knows? Because some of my colleagues went on to succeed in their various fields of journalism, and I am ever so proud of their accomplishment. But I recognize my journey has been completely different, and I have been very, very, there's never a part of me that has yearned for somebody else's journey. I don't know. Perhaps because I have had a mother who has instilled in me my own speciality, if that makes sense. So I have always kind of carried not a chip on my shoulder, but I've almost, even if I was doing the thing that society deems beneath me, I have carried that with such gratitude, and I've carried that with such grace, knowing that that is part of my journey, but that's not my destination. So I guess that attitude has always led me, and that is what has led me here. Because when I found baking later in my life, and it was never anything. I don't have the story of, my mom used to bake and we used to, like, what? No, we couldn't afford baking gadgets and equipment. Gas is expensive in Ghana, and we couldn't have. There was no reason for me to be a baker. That's all I'm saying, right? But then I found baking, and I found the thing that attracted me to baking was just the soothing nature of being able to focus on something. I found it really therapeutic. And out of that therapeutic feeling came the curiosity of just trying it over and over. And at the time, I worked as a carer with a client who I engaged in the baking activity with, and we saw joy in that. And over time, it grew and it grew and it grew and it grew, and here we are. So I've been doing this long before YouTube paid me a penny. And I guess if YouTube wasn't paying me, I would still be doing this longer from here. But make no mistake, I am not like this moralist who just wants to do good. No, YouTube is a business. Baking for me is a business, but I've also come a long way to understand where my passion in the business lies. And this teaching YouTube videos and baking is something I'm incredibly passionate about. So passionate that my goal and value proposition is to give you simple, informative tutorials. In this day and age, people can put themselves out in the world for any amount of reasons. Have you checked OnlyFans? People are there putting their gifts out into the world. Now, is that supposed to be my cup of tea? No. And I'm not like downing on those people. People make different choices because they are influenced by different objectives and goals. For me, I have just had the privilege and the blessing of having a skill that is so worthwhile, that is so acceptable in society, that brings so much joy in the world, that brings me to a place where I can stand here and talk about cakes forever and not be dead out of it. I would die on the hill of cake making. And that in itself is a privilege. And beyond that, there's the privilege of having all of you stay here, be supportive of me. There is nothing more, there is no one ever so supportive than a complete stranger on the side of a screen. Nothing. Nothing is ever so beyond. I also have the blessing of having a strong network of people around me. I've been so blessed. I have people in my life that I love and respect so much. People who I hold so dear and who support me and who love me. I think that in itself has been like a bedrock of my perspective in life. So if YouTube went away today, I am still me. My life, I'll be disappointed, but it's not an identity for me. Like I would go and succeed at whatever I'm good at and be happy, right? So I guess that's a long-winded way of bringing some context to my beliefs, value system that informs my perspective, which also enhances what I do here on YouTube. But for you, Jackie, and the rest of you, Shishi and Dolly, and all of you in the chat, I don't take for granted that it is a blessing that I get to interact with people like you from all walks of life who just come in to tune in, to check on me, to see what I'm doing, to support me, to subscribe to the channel, to like the videos, and even come back to tell me how amazing I am. Thank you. That's all. Now maybe let me go make myself a cup of tea. Yeah? Right. Now, that has been a good session, hasn't it? Right. There is now 46 of you. If all 46 people liked our video, I'm sure YouTube. Thank you, Jackie. I love you too. I do. Like all of you. Like, you know what? In my head, I have some really mad ideas that you guys have no idea about. Like, I really, some days, right? I came here because of cakes. I ended up on YouTube, and it was very intentional of me to want to focus my goals on YouTube about cakes because it's escapism. It's a universal subject that people, who doesn't love cake? Who doesn't love cake, right? And I find that I think there is something about the cake making community that is so humbling and so giving. When I've seen other creators who make cake, I tend to see a bit of myself in them. They are so giving, they are so kind, they give a lot out of themselves. And I look at it and I'm like, this is so nice, right? But on the back of all of that, make no mistake, people have real life and real ish happening, right? Some days I wake up and I'm like, I'm stood here talking to you, and I'm like, it's not like people have to fake something, but I kind of feel like everyone is dealing with something in their lives. So if we can find a sane, common, universal theme that we can enjoy to escape from everyday life, that is fine. So this community for me, as in the community of this Gladys Cake Kitchen, is a community that I do not intend to draw my everyday life into. Baking and what I do is my everyday life. It's part of my everyday life. But out of being a baker and a tutor and a teacher and a cake artist and all of that, I'm also a mom. I have a home. I am a member of a community, a church. There are different aspects of every human being, right? And for me, the goal is to manage here as my safe space so that I don't overwhelm myself with random things. And the cake making subject or theme in itself has several other facets. Can you imagine if we broke it down? We could be talking about recipes. We could be talking about, I could make a whole video, a career out of talking about baking ingredients, nerding out on eggs, sugar, this, that. Or we can move into the decorating of cakes, the processes, and then you have various niches of that. 3D cakes, 2D cakes, all of this, cake decorations for beginners, different aspects. So we will never be too short of information for me to come and tell you how terrible my life is, even though I may have a terrible life. Do you see what I'm saying? My point is, there is enough joy in the subject matter for us to keep escaping, for me to never be able to come and tell you how terrible. I mean, if, say, there was reason for that, there will be context and it will not be an everyday thing. But when people come and how terrible my life is, there's a famous couple we know that love to tell us how hard they've had it. And I kind of feel like if they had, okay, this is the part where Jackie has to literally watch me bite my tongue, because we don't know about the couple's experience, especially. Their world is so distinctively different from the everyday life, and what is assumed to be a blessing and a privilege might in itself be a curse to another person. So thank you, habitual hobbies. I wonder what are your habitual hobbies, darling. Thank you. So I think because they are such a public figure, like the couple, they are such a public facing couple, that they almost are now invited into all aspects of pop culture and everyday life and conversation. It's like, it's easy for us, including myself, to throw stones at them because they're they make it so easy to become a target. But every time the conversation has every time the subject matter has invited them as a subject, I have always been wary to be able to say what I want to say with a touch of grace for them, because we don't know them, we don't know their experience. And I genuinely mean that. There are some conversations that, as people, if we were having it off air and we were sat in the kitchen, those conversations are left in the kitchen floor. It's not for the world to consume. But it is so easy for us to be making money or sort of inviting controversy about other people's lives that we do not even understand the impact. So for those couple, even though I am trying to talk about them, I say I am edging into that conversation with a bit of grace, but also understanding that what I perceive as privilege and access and power and all these things that this couple may have in abundance in itself is probably not a blessing. It might be a curse in itself, because how do you manage a ton of resources when you haven't developed the inner grit and fortitude to appreciate what it means to have little? I think there is a biblical parable that comes into mind based on that, that if something to do with the person who manages the little is given more, right? So if this couple, one half of the couple, which is the male, has never had to, I've always almost thought in my mind that if you were born into poverty and you had to succeed against the odds, you are an untouchable person, because you have built yourself a great skill that life couldn't even have anything on you, right? What it means to climb the ranks from nothing, the skill you have to build as a person, how to develop your skill in interacting with people, identifying where your goals are, identifying the people who will come along with your journey. That in its skill is life. But if you're born into such extreme privilege that even brushing your teeth has to be assisted by another person, how do you grow the muscle and sort of strengthen the muscle of accepting hardships in life? You know? So the thing that we think is privilege is a curse, because the privilege never endowed this person the ability to sharpen the muscle to be able to stand firm even when life's storms are coming at them. You know, it's it's not the same, but in context, to be able to think about what you to put on the table for your kids, and to be able to go out and to earn a living and to budget that money to be able to live through month to month is a skill in itself. People are making money on YouTube talking about budgeting skills and all of that, right? And yet there is a group of people who never have to worry about a day's meal on the table. Can you imagine what that looks like? Right? So this couple kind of go through life complaining about how bad they have it. And yes, so we, the paupers and the plebs down here, are like, really, you should be they don't have to do anything. They just have two different experiences from us. And for me, my experience through life is that I what I do here, I approach it with just so much inner gratitude and heart. And I hope that comes through every time I show up here and we talk about cakes. But that is a bit about me over there. And always a pleasure to have you. Jackie is laughing because Jackie is watching me trying to censor myself. But yeah, here we are. And habitual hobbies. Dolly and the rest of you in the chat, thank you for being here. I think I've been waffling on. If you didn't notice, I've been talking for over an hour and a half. Between the cake batter and the bacon and all of this, my mouth is dry. Let's go make a cup of tea. Okay, let's go make a cup of tea. I'm tired. Let's go make a cup of tea. Who drinks tea like I do? Right. Let me get myself a cup. Jackie out here laughing at me. Jackie, be kind, okay? Jackie, be kind. I'm drinking Turtle's tea. And by the way, Turtle's didn't sponsor me, okay? Right. I tell you, people. Oh, okay. Habitual hobbies. Oh, okay. So you grow herbs. Oh, that's exciting. So what herbs do you have? You know what? I drink regular English tea, like Tetley's. You can have various brands of tea that you drink, but in the past, in recent times, I've tried thyme tea and clove tea in the mornings. I dip into all those random things in and out, but my everyday drink is tea. Tea. I like tea. You can give me tea. Oh Lord, I love tea. I love tea. I love tea. But anyway, by the way, I tell you something. You know, over here we don't get keep. So sometimes I share things that excite me. I'm on TikTok, right? And there is a TikTok creator that I follow. Well, I actually don't follow him, but yeah, he's a creator. Maybe you would find him. If you find me like if you find value and connection with me, I think you would. He's a musician, by the way. He's Alex. I'll put his details in the um, description. He's if you his name is spelled Alex, as in a div, but it's Alex Duncan the Fourth or something. But I will. He's a musician, and I love his content. Jackie, we don't spill tea here, okay? we do drink tea here, but do we spill tea? We spill tea on staying grounded and being humble. My son is here. He wants to talk to me, so let's see what he has to say. Okay. Okay, sunshine. Right. There you go, darling. There. Right. So my son came and he says to me, okay, right. Oh my God, habitual hobbies. Now I wonder where you are because I'm like, come on now, bring us some herbs, can you? Right. There's tea. We drink tea and we spill tea. What tea are we spilling? Well, this week it wasn't exactly great for Shannon Sharp, was it, Jackie? Did you see? Or did you hear? Okay. I'm just drinking my tea. Okay? That's all. The tea is so hot. Right. Let's have it. It's been an hour baking, so let's have a check on our cake. Oh, Jesus. I am loving the bake. Ooh. People, first of all, my kitchen smells amazing. But if you saw what I just saw in my oven, it's going to be good. Let me just turn. Remember when I put the pan, the tin in, I said, because it fills the oven, the one part just is in direct contact with the heat. So let me turn that around and I'll come back and tell you, Jackie, about Shannon Sharp earlier this week. Okay? Since you are not kind of tuned in to what oh my God. I can't wait to show you the cake. I really can't. It is so good. But by the way, so Jackie says, who, if you know about what happened earlier this week with Shannon Sharp, leave it in the chat for us since we are spilling tea. Right? If you know what I'm talking about, like the reference to Shannon Sharp. Plus, whilst we're at it, I should also say I haven't had breakfast. at all. So I haven't eaten. It's been 4 p.m. now and I haven't eaten. So yeah, if you if you know what I'm talking about, yes, yes. Dolly is asking if it's banana cake. I said yes, yes. That's exactly what we're baking. Right. So if you didn't know what the news about Shannon was like, Shannon accidentally let it's this subject matter is so it's not is it it's very it's not child friendly. Essentially, Shannon was getting it in. Okay, that's let's just the adult versions. Can you understand what I'm saying? Shannon was enjoying himself in the horizontal position, and he live videoed that. No, he ended up on IG live. We didn't see the action, but we heard the sounds of the whole action. Okay, Jackie, now this is the part you close your eyes and you be like, girl, no. Okay? So yes, that was what happened. Can you imagine all the noise and the sound and oh, it was awful. I don't know. I was on TikTok scrolling when I saw it. I was like, oh, okay. But it was like, I thought it was just like for the fun of it. Turns out it wasn't. I was surprised when he addressed it on Jackie. I see you, sis. That was bad. He addressed it on Nightcap. Shannon has a show, Nightcap. It covers something about American sports, some kind of sports thing. I see bits of it because there's Chad on it, and Chad is connected with Evelyn Lozada. So can you see where my interest in television is? I like rubbish TV a bit. So Chad is connected with Evelyn because they used to date, and then it's allegedly purported that there was a intimate partner abuse situation with Evelyn. So that's how I came to know about Chad. So Chad is the co-host of the Nightcap with Shannon. So he addressed it on his Nightcap program, apologizing to the rest of the world and to his family that he was just having some pleasure. Can you imagine, Jackie? So that was the tea for the week. The tea of the week is Uncle Shannon got caught with his pants down, essentially. So that was it. Thank you. Oh my God, my belly hurts. Okay. What else is happening? Besides our uncle, what is it? Our embarrassing uncle doing that. What else is, look, oh dear, Jack, exactly when I saw, I was hoping that it was like a hoax because Shannon has come under a lot of, since the Cat Williams interview, he's come under a lot of fire for various things, and there's like speculation awry about his sexuality, and I don't think it's fair really, but it's the internet. Anyone kind of feels like they can go and say anything without any consequences, you know. The internet and the screen tends to dehumanize public facing people a lot. So I don't subscribe to any of that, but it's since the Cat Williams interview, it's been a thing. And so when I saw this breaking like in real time on TikTok and everywhere, I was like, maybe this is a hoax. This is kind of created to kind of shut down the rumor about his sexuality and that. And I was hoping it wasn't true. My jaw dropped like when I saw him on Nightcap, straight faced addressing it that it is true, and he does. But I don't buy the story of how do you like this modern phones. He says he doesn't use Instagram. He is something. So if you don't use Instagram, right? How is your phone going to even end up, especially with modern phones? You have like various security measures even before. And at that point in such intimate activity, you probably have to have the phone in your pocket. You know what? I don't buy the excuse, but that's me. Okay, I am so cynical. I didn't buy the reasoning around it, but I also understand it's an accident. I don't understand how such an accident could happen though, right? And yeah, the woman was let's just say someone got lucky. That's all. Can we move on? Jackie, you've got me spilling tea here. That is not cake related. That aside, I came across talking about TikTok. I was saying there's a creator that I like on TikTok. He has some wild stories and he has such an amazing, I say an amazing life. It's not as amazing as, I guess amazing is perspective. He's a musician, so he gets to do these cool things. But the thing I like so much about him is how endearing and how humble and how gracious and graceful it is. It's not always it's not always that you find a creator who has like such old school values, and I like following him, and he has like stories he tells. And one of the stories that got me on he came up on my For You page was how wild it was when his dad ended up finding, no, his mom finds out his dad was having an affair and has had two kids in that relationship, and his dad has just gone ghost on them, right? So he shares that story, and then that is just a minuscule part of his content, but the rest of the content surrounds his life as a musician and his own experiences and stuff like that. And yeah, I'll link his information, and if you fancy like a distraction in your life about random things, he's such a good storyteller. He reels you in, and then just random things, but he brings such intellect and such grace to his content that I literally have I'm smiling cheek to cheek every time I watch his content, which is really lovely. And with that said, on TikTok there is a trend that was developing on TikTok that is cake related. And it's not just cake related. I think it comes from different what do you call it? Different niches. But for cake makers, it's like cakes I will never do for the public. And since I'm a cake maker, I thought, okay, it will be lovely to discuss some of those here, like cakes I will not do for the public. First of all, I don't do simple cakes. Now I'm waiting for the penny to drop and for people to come for me. Okay? No. Let me just clarify that with some context here. When I say I don't do simple cakes, simple is subjective in cake decorating, right? But in my experience of baking for 10 years, running it for 6 as a business, I have found that when people say simple, they're looking for budget friendly. They're looking for the cake that they think is not going to break the bank. And where I say simple is subjective is that if you see a fondant covered cake that looks very plain, imagine a wedding cake that is white, that is polished, it looks very simple because it has nothing on it. It's not simple in skill. To be able to derive a polished looking cake that is just sitting there with no flowers to hide the mistakes, it's not simple. Jasmine, I am well, thank you. And you, I hope you are well today. And I hope you're keeping well and your Saturday is great. That's someone in the chat just checking on me. Thank you for being here today. So, simple is subjective, but in this context, I'm talking about when people want budget friendly cakes. They tend to go, "Oh, I just want a simple cake." They expect you to almost reduce your skill and ability to suit what their budget will afford. And I don't do that anymore. Okay? I don't. And I am not apologetic about that. I love cake making. I will always find value, a place to give value to my customers. But I don't do simple cakes where simple means a budget friendly cake. I don't do that. And that's where I'll leave it. The next cake I don't do is a cake that I will struggle to discuss or talk about in a public view. Okay? If I will struggle with it, I wouldn't do it. So, for instance, you know them, what do they call them? Say, certain body parts type of cake. Say, I received an inquiry for a cake of a male body part, like a specific male body part. Now, that's not a moral thing. It's like much of my cakes, I can make the cake and it will just be on the back end. I don't mind if I want to do it for the artistry. I mean, I randomly made myself a plantain cake. So if I woke up as an artist and I thought I wanted to create a certain body part for the purposes of bringing educational information around it, well, I would do that. But I cannot see how a hen do with a specific male body part. Yeah, Jasmine, you're in the chat and you're laughing. Yeah, hell no, isn't it? Right. That's enough about me. Oh, our cake is an hour and a half nearly. Let's go have a look then. When I tell you that's what I was seeing in the oven, it will amaze you. Look at what is in, look at that color. Look at the color of that. Right, let's see. First of all, I need to put a toothpick in. See, okay, it's baked through and through. It's baked. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Right. So the recipe works, people. It works. An hour and a half in and we are done. It works. It works. It works. Look at that. And I told you, the Silverwood brand of cake tins is a master of baking. If I could afford that for all my pans, I would. But I can't always. Look, my kitchen smells absolutely divine. My kitchen smells absolutely divine. So let's give it 10 minutes, right? Let's give it 10 minutes for it to set, and then I will, because the bottom of the pan can be removed. I'm going to remove it, and then we can set it on a board, and then we'll see. Because we still have to chill it before I chop it up, before we take it to church. Because with all the talk here, I still have to finish and go to church. So if you like the look of our banana cake out here, right? If you like that, maybe you should like this video. Like the video, like the video, like the video. Hit on the three button, the button, if the on the top right corner. There's 44 people. I can only see 24 likes. Why? Is it because you don't like me? I'm going to tell my mama that there are some people on the internet. Well, I bought this actually from Jackie, answering Jackie's question. Jackie is asking, where did I get a tin like that? I bought it from actually a shop that specializes in baking ware. Over here, it's called Abraxas. It's a local shop here. I believe they have since closed. But if I was looking for silverwood, I'll go on the silverwood website. I think as an American, there is the equivalent, which is the is it something daddy pan? There are, I think in every country there is a go-to brand. Over here, PME, as in PME, that's like very affordable, budget-friendly tins. They are the anodized tins and they work. I use PME round. My round cake tins are PME. They're okay, but silverwood is just like it just blows it out of the water because of how their tins are made. They're like a proper bakeware brand, if you like. So, but they're expensive. I think for just this one alone, I got that, I think, £61 or something from Abraxas. So yes, but it's worth the money, mother. It is worth it. Right. So we've got there in the end. I just want to, right. Maybe this will be the fall of me, but I'm willing to risk it. Right. So there we have it. Right. This is the moment of truth where we mold the cake from the pan. See the part that I said is exposed to the direct source of heat. But the cooling mechanism has also ensured that the cake is a little tender. It is so tender. I love it. And the chocolate chips hasn't sunk. I know, Jackie. I know. Yeah. The flavor of this cake, I can't tell you. The Muscovado sugar has done its thing. The banana. My people, I'm not even kidding. This will make a great, if you make this for your family members, even the haters will love you, okay? Even the haters, they will have nothing on you. They will love on you so much. You will be wondering, what did I do to deserve so much love? So that's a very hot banana loaf. Whew. The caramel bits. Oof. I don't know. I'm having so many different feelings about this banana cake. I think I want to change my mind and sit here and eat my banana cake and mind my own business and not go to the church event. I will not be mad for doing that. But hey, so you see, the recipe has baked great. We have a settled cake. The burnt is by circumstance. We can't help that. But To know that our cake baked well, we haven't had the chocolate chips sink. The flavor is amazing. It has baked so tender. So if I recommend this recipe, it's great. Okay? Even if I say so myself. Yep. Jackie, it's like you know my heart. Like I'm feeling like now I'm taking this cake to my people. And me and Jackie, we're going to sit here and goss and read the Bible and say a prayer and eat cake. Okay? But surely we'll be doing that when I catch you on the Zoom for your 30 minutes catch up with me. Okay? So don't you worry. Right? But I love the people at church. They are such a group of people I love too. There are some amazing women in church who are just so wholesome. So I'm actually looking forward to going to share this with them. Chantilly. Okay. Lovely to have you back. Where have you been? Were you hiding? You've missed out on a lot of the gossip. Jackie has been dragging me around for some tea that we should not be spilling out here, but that is just by the way. So the cake baked well. The process I employed has yielded great results. So if you're just joining in on the chat and it's your first time here, welcome to the channel. Such a pleasure. Always a pleasure to have you. Never a dull moment over here. Our goal is to undertake the baking process, identify certain specific tasks. If you started on when we came on the live, I talked you through all the entire ingredients, why I chose them, how they affect them, my intention around the process I employed for the cake. And the goal was to stay on the live long enough so that we can see if the results work. And clearly, there are some videos where you watch and you're not sure if the recipe works. This has answered the question for you. So let's go back to our goal. When you are baking a sheet cake like this in a home oven, there are different things you have to consider. How technical the process is, the circulation of heat, and the entire thing. It's not very straightforward. So sometimes you can have a larger cake like this where a recipe is not optimized for baking large, because when you bake large, sometimes the cake cooks on the side and then the bottom settles raw, and then you have problems. This recipe, whether I'm baking it in a 10-inch round tin, a 12-inch round tin, or a 14-inch sheet tray tin, it bakes exactly the same. And I talk you through the entire process. So if you're just joining the chat, understand that this is not my first time undertaking a recipe for us to derive great results. It's actually a value proposition of mine to make sure that we have that all the time on the channel, just so that this is a learning resource for you. So whilst we are here, we've seen it now. I will cut part of it, but a warm cake. Where is the long knife? I don't want to put right. So a warm cake isn't the same as like what do you call it? Right, let's try. A warm cake doesn't come off the same as a cake that has settled. So for this cake, I wish I would have baked it, wrapped it, left it on a countertop, and then cut it into pieces for next day. But then church people get to see the cake as is, So we have a 14-inch. Let's start with 7 over here, 7-inch over there, and then we have okay. So if we went for 2 here, 4, there is 6, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and there's 14. Okay, that's fine. So we've got 2 here. So if we went for 2, I just want to be able to derive as the servings that we need. 4. So if you're wondering how many servings we're going to get out of this, I'm just trying to do that. 6, 8, 10, 12, right? We have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, right? So if we went for the same here, so we're going for, say, 2-inch squares, right? Okay, 6, yeah, 8, and then there is 10, and then 12. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. Bear with me, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. So you will have a little over 50 servings for a 14-inch cake like this. So, people, I have nothing to tell you. Okay, I have nothing. If you're here just watching me eat cake, I'm sorry. This cake is so good, okay? Well, that's a good cake. That's a good recipe. Now, no, it's the same. I think a little part of me doesn't want to take this cake to church now. The cake is good, even if I say so myself. So, good people, let's go and give this to church people. The barbecue started at 2, and it's 4:30 already. So, Jackie, Dolly, the rest of you, there's 85 people out here right now, and there's only 26 likes on the video. Are you hate watching me or something? Just like the video, people. Just like it. Just hit the like button so that YouTube knows you have had a great experience. Okay, I'm going to count 10. Let's see if there is 10 of you in the chat who can just like the video before we sign off. But maybe let me... Oh, look! Look at the inside of the cake. Look. Right. A little part of me. Okay, I'll tell you one last thing I think about sometimes. Look at the inside of the cake. You, yes, you. Does it look like a cake you will eat?
Move upstairs, buddy.
Oh, it is so good. Okay? Okay. Right. Right. Whilst we're talking about cake, right? Here's something I wanted to say. I sell custom cakes and I make custom cakes for people. But a part of me knows that I like a good flavor of cake. So maybe let's stay on the channel long enough and continue supporting us. And in the future, what we might do is that I might be able to bake just regular cakes like this and find a way of packaging them in slices without buttercream or anything. And then we can send it to you guys. It's not a ginger cake. It's a banana loaf that is made with Muscovado sugar. So it's not a ginger cake. It's a banana. It's a banana cake with white chocolate. Look at the cake. Ooh, this is so good. This is so good. This is so good.